Hey, it's Jason Ackerman here, host of the best hour of their day, and I'm bringing to you an interview with Austin Malleolo. I've known Austin just about 10 years now, and I'm super excited to talk to him. We dive significantly deeper than just his appearances at the CrossFit Games. If you want to learn all about that, I've interviewed him before on my Own Your Eating podcast, and he's got plenty of interviews out there. But today, we're going to dive deeper into who he is as a human being and, of course, how he's become the best coach that he can be. And he's going to give you guys some great tips into how you can become a better coach. In addition to that, we're going to learn about his morning routine. We're going to talk about his recent 600-pound deadlift on the same day that he ran the Boston Marathon. And he's going to drop some knowledge. One of the favorite quotes I have from this interview is when he said, "Words are useless, actions are all we have." That is something I would expect to hear from Austin Malleolo because he is, as I like to refer to him, the hardest working man in CrossFit. He owns multiple affiliates. He's got hand plan programming. He just ran Watt on the Waves. He's programming for the Throwdown in China. He's got so much going on, but the dude makes it happen. Married. He's got a beautiful daughter now. He's got his Benny the Golden Doodle. The guy is busy, but in this episode, we're going to talk all about that, all about how you can be busy but still thrive, what allows him to be so successful, and like I said, of course, how you can become a better coach. He throws out a huge, huge nugget that if you listen to, I promise you, it will make this entire episode worth it. So, I'm going to bring to you my interview with Austin Malleolo. Check him out on social media. Check out Ham Plan. He's got a new book coming out in the future. All great things coming from him, and I'm super proud to call him a friend, and I'm super excited for you to listen to my interview with Austin right here on Best Hour of Their Day. All right, we have a very special episode today of Best Hour of Their Day because we have Austin Malleolo. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
So this is unique because we are basically taking Austin's daily commute from home to Reebok CrossFit One in downtown Boston.
That's right. Yeah, you're along the journey with me.
So if there's a lot of traffic, we have a lot of questions. If you make it quickly, we'll get to what we can. What's the average daily commute take you?
Average daily commute is about on the way in. It's about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. Yeah.
And that's changed. So for those unaware, Reebok CrossFit, the box, the headquarters used to be in a town called Canton, Massachusetts. And then you guys relocated to downtown Boston. So your life changed at that moment.
Oh, yeah. So it was, I will pass the old headquarters as I drive in here. So, and I'll pass that in about probably 5 minutes from now and then continue driving for another, 35 minutes or so. But yeah, so doing things like this, leveraging the time in the car to have phone calls or talk to people or, try to be as efficient as I can has become more of a focus now that I have no longer time in the car. So just try to be efficient with newfound possible idle time.
And that's really what I want to dive into with you today. If you want to hear all about Austin's fitness accomplishments, I've interviewed him in the past on other podcasts. He's been on countless. Just search Austin Malleolo on the internet. You will find all about his games experiences, sectionals, all that. Cool. We're proud of that. But let's dive deeper into this. You're one of the best coaches in the world, and something that I appreciate about you is just how busy you are. I like to refer to you as the hardest working man in CrossFit. So, what's that? What are you referring to?
Oh, I just, it's anytime someone puts a title on you, it's you often, you meet it with skepticism, as I try to myself, because I always assume there's someone bigger, faster, stronger, better, smarter, and harder working at any point in time. So that's usually what runs through my mind when I hear something like that.
Well, and that's probably why you are where you are today. I remember long ago when you were a coach at Albany CrossFit and you were working out one time and you said to me before your workout, you were like, don't praise me. Tell me that I'm not doing well. And I was like, all right, that's what motivates Austin, thinking that you need to be doing better. So first thing I want to ask you, you are a busy dude. You're married. You got a daughter. You have a dog. You have, for those listening, you own and operate 3 affiliates physically, but you have attachment of affiliates around the world. You're huge in China. So what's your morning routine look like getting you prepared for the day?
Oh, yeah. So I really have 2 morning routines because every week my shift at the gym changes. So I'm either on the opening shift or the closing shift. So this week, for example, I'm on the closing shift. So what that means is, my shift technically starts at the gym at 10:30 a.m. and we go to 7 p.m. So my morning on a week like this, it starts usually around like 5 a.m. is when I wake up on the closing week. So I wake up at 5. At that point, Haley, my daughter's name, she's still sleeping, and I just get ready and I enjoy the morning time of not rushing and just showering and just going through my normal morning routine, just getting ready for the day. And then I have about an hour of Haley asleep, so I go downstairs, I feed Ben, my dog, and then make some coffee. And I every morning I like to do a pour over coffee, which is not the most time efficient, but it's therapeutic, and I just enjoy the process. So I make some pour over coffee. I have overnight oats every morning. That's what I have for breakfast. And then at that point, I get in front of the computer and I just start to I get a lot of stuff done that I can't or try not to do throughout the day when I'm at the Reebok headquarters. So I do a lot of stuff for the HAMP plan. I do a lot of my CrossFit job stuff for seminars on the weekends. I try to catch up on emails or just do personal stuff, whether it's recently in the past month, taxes, blah 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 blah. So I just try to get all that done, and then Haley wakes up, and then I try to spend at least an hour and a half with her. So just crawling around with her and playing and feeding and just try to put my phone down, which is hard for me to unplug because I have a hard time relaxing. So I just try to just spend the morning with Haley because I don't get to see her at night. So that's the trade-off. So that's those morning routines are very eventful because then I drive in like I am right now to the gym. On my opening weeks, it's a little less eventful, a little faster, where I wake up around like 4:20, 4:30 a.m. and then I just get ready to rock, eat my overnight oats, make my pour over coffee, just in a smaller serving, and then I hop in the car and by about 5:15, 5:20, get to the gym around 6 a.m. and open the gym. So and then I'm able to leave a little earlier, and I essentially do the same routine that I do in the morning in the afternoon, where I spend more time with Haley until she goes to bed, and then at night after she goes to bed, I either depending on I either train again or I get behind the computer and kind of catch up and finish out the day's work.
Yeah, so the morning routine just kind of flip flops at that point, but as you can see, I mean, that's an early start, and it sounds like you just kind of grind on those things for an hour so you get to do some things that you get to enjoy, like spend time with your daughter, which is super valuable. And then the trade-off obviously on those early mornings is you get to the box much quicker.
Oh yeah. The mornings are much faster, less traffic. And it's, the morning shift, and certainly in the world of CrossFit, I think a lot of us are morning people. So it's a coveted shift. It's because, you're up essentially for me the same time every day, whether I open or close, give or take a few minutes. And so, but to get home at, by 4 o'clock and to spend, the nighttime with Haley as a parent, I love that so much more. It's just fun to be a part of the nighttime process. Also for Marin, it's a lot to spend 2 hours with the babe. At the end of the day, they get fussy, so it's nice to be able to just be a better husband and more helpful in the final hours of the day. So I feel a little more purposeful in our relationship on those days as well.
Well, I'm sure you're purposeful every day, but that's really good. And I think for me, I tell people that 5 a.m. crew are crazy and they're there to work. So it's sometimes a little more fun. Not that it's more fun, but it's like, you're going in and you need to bring it because they're there at 5 a.m. And if you're there at 5 a.m., you want to get your shit in.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, any gym around the world, the first class of the day, they're the same people anywhere in the world. And I couldn't agree more. I think the only thing you gotta treat them a little differently with the general warm up. You gotta, if you've ever worked out at 5 a.m, you're really gonna need a good general warm up. So, whereas if you're working out at 4 o'clock, you probably can get to the workout a little faster, but you gotta wake that body up, first thing in the morning before you start clanging and banging some iron.
So, this podcast is primarily about becoming the best coach and affiliate owner. But before we get there, I want to ask you this question because you mentioned coffee, you mentioned overnight oats, which for those listening don't understand, back in the day, you would never have touched either of those things. So my question to you is, and it doesn't have to be about, just those foods or nutrition, but what's one thing that you previously believed to be true that you now don't believe? And maybe it's about CrossFit, maybe it's about fitness, maybe it's about something else in your life, but I've seen the evolution of Austin Malleolo over the last 10 years, and it's been incredible from a distance to see. So many things have changed. So I'm wondering for you, what's the one biggest thing that you used to believe to be true that you don't believe anymore?
Oh man. Gosh, it's funny because I don't, I would say that I think that it's less of a belief, it's more or less of an understanding and awareness piece. But I think at one point I had the belief that I had to be unbelievably rigid and in any of my beliefs. So like beliefs aside, the belief in rigidity and was what allowed me to achieve whatever it might be. So from a nutritional perspective, if I read something, I had to do it, or whatever it might be. So I was 100% convicted in my belief of whatever that was, if that makes sense. It was never, because my beliefs are still there, like from the sense of, from a nutritional perspective, do I believe that fish oil was the best thing in the world? I don't know that. I just read that it was good for you, so I always did it. I believe the rigidity in taking fish oil every day was something I had to do. Things like that. Whereas now I understand a little better of, one, that my goals have changed. I'm no longer looking to compete individually at the CrossFit Games. So that's no longer a goal of mine. And when that was, I had to leave myself less room for possible backdoors from a mental perspective. But, for me, I love, overnight oats. Like, I experimented with oats once I kind of, as I was progressing through my nutritional journey, and it worked well for me, and my lifestyle changed a little bit. And so I just think being a little less rigid in those things have been super helpful. And the belief that one size fits all, that's the biggest thing, where in the beginning, it was super easy for me to think that there was only one way to achieve success, certainly when it came to nutrition, because it was easier. And as you know, I mean, you spend a lot of time with nutrition, and it's super easy to think that, if you do one thing and it's the only thing that you do, then it's the way to do it. But there are a lot of ways to achieve success, some unconventional, some conventional. And I think that that's been probably the most helpful and the biggest change in my beliefs, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. And I think, I have seen it expand beyond, we're talking nutrition in that moment, but whether it's, I can be flexible in what workout I do today, or I can be flexible in, I want to, get work done, but Marin wants to watch, a reality show.
Right.
The idea that I can be more flexible in life. Cause you were rigid, you were insane back in the day, but I will say with that, with that being said, that got you to where you are. And this is what's taking you to the next level.
Right.
So,
and I do, and I think that that's a very important aspect, because for me, the most important learnings that I had in my whole life were when I followed a strict zone for 5 years and never, ever waned or cheated from it. And I really believe that that's an important, my goal was a very specific goal that was one that wasn't relatively easy. So with that came an extreme goal and extreme behaviors. So I don't expect other people to do that if they want to achieve success. But for me, it was something that was important and necessary. And it also changed my relationship with food. It changed my relationship with nutrition, where, now we talk a lot about whether it is, intermittent fasting and the keto diet, and then obviously, macros, but like all of this stuff, like for me, that stuff is so easy now because of my understanding of food that I learned through zoning, and I developed my relationship with macronutrients, so I understand it. Whereas I don't think it works the other way around.
I agree with that. It took that discipline for you to learn that. And throughout that conversation, something, first of all, I want people listening to think, this guy zoned 25 blocks for more than 5 years. And that's what took him to the CrossFit Games, 5 occasions, right? As an individual. Is that correct?
I think 5 or 6 as an individual, 2 as a team.
Right. When you don't remember how many times you went to the games, that's a good problem. And, the people listening that talk about, and obviously the scope and the landscape of the CrossFit Games has changed, but I think very few people understand the discipline it takes to get there. But let me go on that. You also said, okay, my goals have changed. I no longer want to go as an individual, whether or not you decide to go as a team. You're 31 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, God, I think I turned 32 like in a month. Yeah.
Shit. Okay, so you're almost 32, and granted, you're not old. Is that a little old in the CrossFit world? Sure. So
yeah,
what I'm leading to is, how does one that was at your level stay motivated every day to train? I mean, you still throw down. Go check out Austin's, social media, and here we are. It's Thursday. 3 days ago, he pulled 600 pounds off the ground and then ran a 4-hour marathon. So the dude is still ridiculously fit. He did 2 things none of you listeners can do, myself included, right? In within a scope, a 5-hour period. How do you stay motivated every day to train?
I think I would say honestly, that has been something that I've talked to a lot with myself and my buddy James Hobart, which I'm sure a lot of people know and at least can recognize. And the key is small goals, and I can tell you that because every year since I started CrossFit, since day one, it's always been the games. And so you have a goal, no matter what the time of the year your goal is, that competition. And now it's, well, all right, I did the marathon and I wanted to pull 600 pounds. And then, so you have to create small incremental goals to give yourself a purpose. And whatever it might be, what has really helped me is I take class every day. So I take class. So, I program for that. I have the hand plan program. We have hundreds of people that follow it, if not thousands with how many affiliates now. So for me, the obligation is, one, I need to set the standard. So my motivation is other people. I'm going to take the class. If I miss class because of my schedule, I'm going to do the workout. By the end of the week, I'm going to do every workout that our affiliates do. I'm going to try to do all of our accessory work and extra sessions, because I want to make sure that I'm there with my people, with the people that I've asked them to do things. And when self-motivation's not there, because anyone that says I'm self-motivated, they're lying, right? Motivation's great when things are good, but you don't have motivation when shit's bad. Like, whether you like, that's the kind of the concept of motivation, right? So you need to have an extrinsic motivator, and all of the time, in my opinion, you need to be able to fall back on it. So for me, if it's 8:00 at night, Haley's gone down, I missed the session because I was too busy, I think about everyone else. I think about, people that have done it, and I'm like, I got to go do this for them. And I just go out there and execute on it. And once I start working out, my mindset's always the same. I'm going to go as hard as I can. I'm going to just fully send it because I don't like to pace workouts, so once I'm in a workout, motivation's never an issue. But as life goes on, I mean, your days are much busier. Just it's pressing the start button is not as easy because it's easy to find other things to do or other reasons to do something. We're like, oh, like I could work. Like I always have a day's worth of work to do, so those are the easy, oh, it's a good excuse, but an excuse is an excuse, whether there's productivity behind it or not.
So have an external motivator, which is great. And it sounds like for you, it's knowing, we'll talk more about the ham plan, but whether at your boxes or the boxes around the world that subscribe to the ham plan, which is phenomenal programming, by the way, you can check it out. It's at hamplan.com, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
So check it out there. If you own a box, it really sets your entire box up for success, not just with the programming, but how to execute on the hour. There's more than just an hour programming. There's express type classes, all that type of stuff. So check that out. But simply knowing that other people are hitting it, something you put out there is what gets you to go. And I agree with you. I'm the same way. It's like once you start, and I think everybody listening can agree with this, like the challenge is to get started. Once you get going, we feel good. We know how good we're going to feel afterwards as well.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, you just have to be, and also it's an important thing. Like, I actually just finished editing a vlog about the marathon and about the deadlift, and Connor Murphy, who I ran it with, and I pulled the deadlift at his house. We were just doing a little recap and chat, and how, it's important to follow through on your actions. So for me, I told people that I was going to run the marathon and that I was going to, attempt to pull 600 pounds. So at the very least, I have no choice but to attempt to do that stuff, right? And, if you're going to say you're going to do something, you have to do it. And that's the only thing we have in this world, right? Is our words are useless. Your actions are all we have. But everyone's like, all we have are our words. No, people talk big game all the time and never follow through, right? Just like it's called social media influencers and all these other things. But for me, if I'm going to tell people, if I'm going to, have, my YouTube channel and vlog where I talk about things where, about doing and executing, I have to do it. So accountability is also, if I tell someone I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So that's me setting myself up for self-accountability, where it's easy if you hide, never commit to anything outright, then you can easily find excuses. But if you put yourself out there, you are way more, possible to execute on it, because at the very least, the poorest level of motivation is the embarrassment of you not executing on it. But you know what? At least it gets the ball moving.
Yeah. And, something our friend and mentor, Sasha, would always tell me is if you write it down, you're twice as likely. But if you tell someone, you're 5 times as likely to do it. And
that's right.
When you're telling someone, you're not just telling one person, you got 70,000 Instagram followers, people watching you're telling quite a lot of people. So
right.
With all that being said, my question would become, I don't know for sure, has your fitness decreased?
Well, I guess, it's safe to say that probably, I've sustained some injuries and things like that. And past, relatively recent history, a couple of years, my wrists are pretty, so like, I can't really snatch or overhead squat as much, and an improvement for me. So, which is ironic, right? Where things I struggled with, I did a lot, and from overuse, I've, created bone spurs in my wrists and blah, 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 blah. That's called, a professional sports, right? You develop overuse, and in our world, when something is not good, you do it a lot. So, it makes sense. The math adds up. So, I would say that probably if you were to look at, our definition of fitness, work capacity across broad time and modal domains, you look at that curve, even if you were to, oh, that's good.
That wasn't you, was it?
No, someone that just went a Bostonian blowing through a red light like a wild animal. And I just waited for him because I saw him not hit the gas. So And so with that said, yeah, I mean, probably have gone down a little bit. Competitions is not a good determinant of fitness, in my opinion, because, you know, if the right events come out, it could look like I'm really as fit as I've ever been, if not fitter. You know, I mean, I did Fran yesterday, 2 days after the marathon. I did it in 2:11, right? So, fitness is still there.
Is that your best ever Fran time?
I think 2:07 is my best ever. So, but 2:11 is probably my most consistent across the 10 years. Yeah.
Right. Like we hit a 2:07, and 4 seconds at that point is like, where'd you set your bar relative to the rig?
Exactly. Yeah. I did it in class. So I didn't have like an obnoxious setup, like I was just, my bars were everyone else's bars were,
And let's throw that out there. I mean, you're doing classes. I'm sure you do a little additional there's accessory work and hand plan, auxiliary work. But I mean, when we talk about training, you're training significantly less. And I agree with you. Like, to Austin's point, competition is not where you measure your fitness, because if the open happen to have deadlifts in every workout, Austin's going back to the games. Right. Versus if it has snatches and heavy snatch, heavy overhead squat, it's going to impact your performance. So you can't use that as a gauge. But then my question is, for a lot of people, the landscape of the games has changed. There's no regionals, or maybe you're just getting older like myself. How do you handle mentally seeing your fitness slowly diminish? How do you handle that?
Well, I think that if your fitness is slowly diminishing, that means two things, really just one, that you started with such a high level of fitness. That's rare, right? So like, I look at my dad, who's 10 years into CrossFit, now 62 years old, and he's been getting fitter and getting older because, he wasn't a CrossFit Games athlete at 50. So most people should be getting fitter for a really long time, or at least sustaining, or it's undulating depending on your years of life and what's happening. But, for someone like myself who has, my goal has been to be the fittest, and the key is I'm always going to be frustrated with the poor performance, whatever that might be, but it's having fun. I love working out personally. And I love, I miss snatching. I miss overhead squatting but I don't do it because it hurts. And, so I'm smart, I try to practice what I preach, right? Like pain-free range of motion. So, if you said, Austin, go snatch an overhead squat, the answer would be I could, because, I'll do anything and, because I'm an idiot, but I choose not to because, it hurts now. And when competing, I would not listen to that part of my body. So I just love working out and I enjoy it. And so if I had no other obligations in life and I would just work out all day, that's what I would love to do. And cause it's fun. Like when I hang out with my friends, we work out, that's what we want to do. So that to me that's where I find the motivation and purpose, doing what I love. And I love programming. I love finding holes in my own fitness and challenging myself. So I think that I'm going to be fitter than I was when I've been to the CrossFit Games, or, who knows? I mean, I think that my fitness will stay pretty fit. I don't think I'm going to stay as super strong because I'm a smaller guy, which means staying super strong is a lot harder for me, which means my volume of lift needs to go up, which, takes a toll on my joints and my body. So I'll pull back on that a little bit, but I mean, I think for the most part, I don't think my fitness will go down too much. So my emotional state won't be too bad. I mean, I think where you really battle it is with a big injury. I've seen athletes that, with big knee injuries, big back injuries that really, force them to change their whole lifestyle. That's something I can't speak to. And I can imagine is unbelievably difficult emotionally and psychologically.
Yeah, we'll have to get Dan Bailey on the podcast. I'm sure you're talking about Dan's somebody like him.
Yeah, man, Dan's one of my best friends, and literally just talking to him almost every day. And it's, it's like, it's hard, and things like that. So I think that's something that if you're an athlete or just a human being, I mean, I have athletes that walk in the gym that, are on restricted movement for whatever reason. And they're a psychological and emotional coach more than their physical because of their limitations. So I think that stuff's really difficult when your whole perspective now turns into pain-free range of motion or maintenance or just get by as opposed to thrive, I think that's really difficult. And for me, it's not just to get by. It's not to survive. Every day I want to hit a workout and I want to smash it to smithereens, like I still hit, like that's what I want to do.
And if, I tell people, because if you're a coach, and I want to get onto the coaching topic, I know you're almost at the box. It's, we all will have periods of time where we're injured. And to me, you really become a CrossFit athlete when you come to the class, even when you have to scale because of injury, because you will have to. And if you don't have to, you're just putting your ego in front of your body.
Right.
But at some point, we've all had tweaks, and you need to be smart and listen to your body, and, a little different than what you're talking about. But yeah, and if you don't do that, you're going to wind up being injured to the point that something drastically has to change, like you referred to. So
right.
I want to dive into coaching for a minute, because are you almost at the box? How long is your?
I probably got like 15 minutes. Yeah.
All right, 15 minutes. So for those of you that don't know Austin's career in coaching, you started in Syracuse, then you came to me at Albany CrossFit, moved over to Reebok, been a part of the CrossFit seminar staff for, probably 8 or 9 years now, Flow Master. You are one of the best coaches in the world. Are you considered a level 4 at this point?
Yeah, I have my level 4. Yeah.
So congratulations. Welcome to the club.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had to catch up with you. As usual, I'm always keeping up with you.
Exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about coaching. We've seen a lot of good coaching. We've seen a lot of bad coaching. What do you think is the most common mistake a new CrossFit trainer makes? So people are listening. They just took their level 1, and I'd say even within the last year or two, they're newer trainers at that point. What's a common mistake they're making?
They coach too many people.
So I agree. Now, people listening are going to say, I don't have a choice, right? Let's say they're not a box owner. I show up at the box. A box wants to do well. They want to have as many members as they can. All of a sudden, I passed my level 1 certificate course. A month later, I'm coaching 24 people at the 6 p.m. class.
Yeah. I think that I agree. And I think a common mistake doesn't necessarily need to be something that, and it might not be able to be fixed right away, but I think that,
true that,
so I just, there's no way you can be effective. So now with that twofold is oftentimes they are, a newer coach they don't give themselves time to actually coach. Again, oftentimes not the fault of the coach, usually the owner or programmer, where they program, for example, too much shit in an hour. And whether it's strength and Metcon or 14 sessions, whatever it is, like part A1, A2, A3, whatever it is, the opportunity to actually see and correct and teach is so small, because you're just pushing people through an hour and giving them just workouts. You're not actually improving human movement. So what you end up doing is developing zero skill sets and don't actually practice how to coach. But you're really good at,
cruise directing
to cruise direct. Yeah. So I think that's, and then what happens, and again, I see it all the time. It's oftentimes not the fault of the coach per se, because, they're not the owner, they're not the programmer, but they want to develop experience. And what we tell everyone is, in order to get better at coaching, you have to coach. So they go out and coach. So I think it's an unbelievably difficult scenario. It's only more challenging now. And that's one of my, it's why I try, and myself, James and Spencer, do affiliate programming, is to help affiliate owners and programmers understand the purpose of a lesson plan and what should actually be delivered within an hour-long class. So, because we got to find a solution to some of these problems for our newer coaches, because I think the mistakes and problems are across the board, and the solutions are challenging and difficult, but I don't see them being remedied by a lot of gyms.
No, and I mean, obviously we can dive into, and on this podcast, last episode, we talked about the whiteboard brief, we talk about timelines, all of that can be rectified. But like you said, it's hard. You graduate from you pass your level 1, it's not up to you. You go to the box. So how would you recommend then that trainer approach the box owner? And granted, that could be very different, but we see it. I'll coach at a level 2. drop the same knowledge you just did. You're not coaching. You're guiding people through parts A through K. You don't have an opportunity. The light bulb goes off. They go back to the box. Their box owner doesn't care. And, our good friend Chuck Carswell says, makes one small step. But what do you say?
Well, I the businessman in me, tells people it's really hard. I mean, you're an employee, and they're the owner, and whether you're like, and if your owner, manager, leader chooses not to listen or pay heed, or maybe they're not good at what they do, and do you want to work for them? You got it. I, with the gyms that I own, with the coaches that coach me, my employees, with my direct reports, the last thing I should ever do is not listen, and or think that people beneath me don't have a valuable opinion or point of view. So yeah, go out and talk to your coach. Now, what I tell them is objectivity matters. If you just say, I don't like this, that's not a good argument. I would say, well, present a problem, present a solution, and then how to execute on that solution. And then whomever you're talking to actually has the tools to at least trial what you want. So that's what I say. Write a lesson plan with what's in what the current programming is, with the current amount of people, and highlight that it's impossible to do your job to see and correct. It's impossible to scale effectively, to teach progressions, to get people where they need to be. And then write a lesson plan with the programming that you possibly would want, maybe just taking out a portion or whatever it is, and show and objectively show that now you have time to do your job. And so and maybe say, hey, let's do this. Can we do this twice a week, or once a week, and see that and whatever it might be, but give a solution to the problem. I think that can be really powerful. But which means you got to do your work, you got to prepare, you got to research, you got to, as if you're going to present something, present an executable, actionable solution, and be respectful about it as well.
Well, you just dropped a life lesson there. It's everybody has got problems, and solutions are a great step, but you actually came up have a plan that you're going to execute. And I think one thing that I want people to take from that also is you didn't say, hey, we need to make this change 7 days a week. Hey, can we try this on Thursdays when it's our slowest day? Or, that was great. And I did that. I moved down to Florida. I was coaching all over. One of the boxes I was coaching at was just like that. And I said, next time I coach, I want to run just Fran. And, give them the story of Fran, run them through the thrusters. People got their first pull-up. And it was such a different experience, something they had never done before because they weren't used to that one workout a day. But are you at the office?
No.
Man, what's going on in that car? You eating your overnight oats?
No, I just drank. I was just drinking some water. So you heard a little shaker ball.
So they need to make a silent shaker bottle. That should be your next invention. So
I'm pretty sure that Shark Tank's got that covered somewhere.
Let me go on though. So I think that was phenomenal advice. This guy goes to the box. Nothing's changing. Do you have one tangible piece of advice that someone coaching can actually try to do at their next class to become better? Regardless of size, regardless of what's going on, one thing you think a coach can do to just be a slightly better coach?
Talk to every single athlete before the workout starts and make sure that you have approved their scaling option and you've done some way to test it and prove that it will be effective. Just ask, how are you scaling this workout and why? You might not have any idea, but talk to every athlete before 3, 2, 1 go, so you know what they're doing and what their intent and stimulus is, which all should have come from you, but undoubtedly you probably screwed that up because everybody does. So talk to everybody before the class starts and it will blow your mind and how much you'll learn.
Great advice. And the last episode we put out there, the whiteboard brief, really dove into that. If you haven't listened to it, go back into the archives. But really, to Austin's point, it was all about maintaining that stimulus and making sure people are doing the right things in the workout. Sure, you go up to Susie, who's got 65 pounds for Fran. Meanwhile, that's her 1 rep max. All right, Susie, we need to make some changes over here.
Right. Yeah, and not only that, it will make you better for the next class. You'll learn. And at the very least, the people in your class will, because they lie to you. You could have done it all good, but people are like, oh, I'm going to do this. Well, why? Well, because I want to. Well, that's not what we discussed. So you can remember, everything's your fault in the class. If everything is your fault, which means you need to have checks and balances from start to finish.
And not to mention, you're connecting with your athletes. There's never a bad time for that. All right, I want to get some good questions in here before you get to work. Other than Marin and Haley, this is a personal question. Other than your wife, your daughter, and let's even throw Benny in there because I know you love Benny. What's the most proud moment of your life?
Ooh,
because you would have said your baby, then you would have said getting married, right? Then you would have said Benji. So what's been the most proud moment?
I appreciate you making sure I don't make any of those relationship mistakes. So thank you. And not saying anything wrong there. Well done. Let me see, gosh, the proudest moment. Oh man, it's that's a tough one. I've had quite the ups and downs in my life. I think it's less a specific moment and more of, in going through such difficult times growing up and being considered a disgruntled youth and all these other things. And, just getting to a point in life where I feel that, I'm proud of what I have around me, my family, my friends, my gyms, my passions, my fitness. It's easy for me to forget that and take it for granted. But, there was a time where I was in jail. There was a time where I was, making every mistake times two. And so I think that's one of the proudest moments of my life, when I had that realization that, I was able to get to where I am now, and by no means anywhere near finished, but it's really cool to have that feeling. And it's easy to not allow myself to feel that because, complacency scares me. And sometimes when I accept and feel proud, I feel like it's complacency, which is not the case, but it's that stuff does scare me personally sometimes.
And for anyone listening, that's really awesome to hear. And it's just appreciating and being grateful for where you are.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah. The last question, and then I want to certainly talk about the ham plan before you get out. If you could put up a billboard or a sign for all CrossFitters to see, what would it say?
For all CrossFitters or potential CrossFitters?
That's, you know what, I'll take it a step further. For anyone in this world to see, what would that billboard say? People are driving down, the road in Boston, big billboard. What would it say?
Oh man.
It's a hard-hitting questions on best hour of their day, Austin. This is not, your typical podcast.
This is great. Yeah. Other than, give them your podcast direct link. I think, I don't know. I mean, part of me thinks that, because, I'm not a huge fan of motivation and inspiration because, so I think that, what does that billboard say? I just think that, I've never read a billboard and that's ever inspired me to do anything other than, not pay attention to what I'm doing, which is driving. So I think we probably be better off as a society if that billboard almost didn't exist and it allowed whoever was driving to actually spend 5 seconds of their day having some introspection about their life, about people that care about them, just doing something for themselves, and for themselves, to achieve their goals. But it would be hard pressed for me to say any type of billboard would add any value to anyone's life.
That's an Austin Malleolo answer if I've ever heard one. All right. So those listening, you got some great advice now. You check out Hamplan. Tell us a little more about Hamplan for those that have never heard of it. What's the, elevator pitch?
Elevator pitch is, myself, James Hobart, and Spencer Hendel, three guys that have been in CrossFit for over a decade each. We program for the affiliate to individuals and to other types of programs. Our cornerstone is for affiliates. Basically, what we've talked about on this podcast is we care about affiliates, coaches and owners that want to deliver a product. And the first thing I say is, I don't want you to buy the program if you don't see value in it. I'll probably try to dissuade you to buy it before I persuade you to buy it. And I think, simply put, we want to give you tools so you can be a better coach. And we feel that what we deliver can help you. And if it fits for your lifestyle, for where you're at as a business, as a coach, as an owner. But our class plans, our lesson plans, we pour our lifeblood into that so you guys can deliver a better class. And programming takes a lot of time. Lesson plan takes even more time, and time is your most valuable resource. So if that resource is better spent somewhere else, then we're the right program for you. And after a year or two of using it, you feel like you've learned enough where you want to reinvest your time resource into that, then it's an honor to have been a part of that process.
And one thing I would say to an owner out there, having done it 3 times, is, we had a podcast about following CrossFit.com, which is great. But if you listen to that podcast with James, there was so much time that he was spending making sure the workouts fit his box, setting up the timelines, making sure the coaches are on board, which is phenomenal. But time is your most valuable resource, and you can go on Hamplan and that's done for you. And that's really so much work, and it's being done by 3 people that are smarter than you. Most likely you don't have the 30 years of experience that Austin, James, and Spencer have together. So can people can people test it out, or do they have to?
Yeah. No. So if you just go to the hamplan.com, you can sign right up on our website, and then you get 7 days free, like a free trial with our lesson plans and programming. And we're on Tribe and SugarWOD. So if you hop on there, I think every program gives you like a 3 or 4 day free trial, which is pretty awesome. So just try it out, and or just hit me up, shoot me an email. I call every affiliate. I talk to every affiliate owner. I mean, I'm the one that responds back in emails to all you guys. So because I take it really, really personally when someone wants to be a part of what we do, specifically from the affiliate perspective, because I understand what $200 a month means to a gym. So I'll spend that time talking to you. So just hit me up.
And $200, all you have to do is retain 1 member a month because they're loving it, and it pays for itself. What's the best email for them to hit you up? I'll put it in the show notes, but you can say it right here.
The hamplan@gmail.com.
The Hamplan?
Yep.
The Hamplan@gmail.com. Cool. I'll make sure that's in the show notes. Before you get out, I just want to make sure people know you can check out the Hamplan at hamplan.com. It's also, like Austin said, on SugarWOD. It's in Tribe. Follow Austin at Malleolo on Instagram. Yep. Hamplan is also on Instagram, correct?
Yep, correct.
So you can see all that. And then for those that wanted to check out your vlog, I watched most of them, and I'm anxious to see the new one about the marathon. First of all, any vlog with Connor, I'm going to check out because he's hysterical. But where can they find that? And he's a good looking dude. That's on YouTube. Is it just search for your name on YouTube? Is that the best way?
Yeah, search for my name and you'll see my channel, and you can subscribe and all that. I try to put up at least I like almost 2 videos a week.
Everybody's tries to put these links out for social media. It's like, at the end of the day, these days, search Austin Malleolo and you're going to find everything you need to know. Is WOD on the Waves coming back?
Yes.
So look for that in the future.
We've confirmed the second boat. Actually, literally on this way here, I saw a couple messages come through that we're going to start the planning process pretty soon.
So sounds like you're in a full sprint to work at this point, but that's cool.
I am now walking out of the garage. You are in my earbuds. Yep, you can hear the planes flying from Logan. I got a Navy warship to my left. You know it.
there's no other podcast that brings to you. I mean, that's what I should be doing. Only commutes, right? But
I mean, hey, if you want to be the best, if this is a coaching podcast, if you want to be a coach, you better hustle, which means you have no time to sit down for an hour and just talk to some long-haired, macro-eating, donut-loving maniac.
That's right. If you were debating if you were going to do Wild on the Waves, though, let me tell you, I had a blast. Roz and I enjoyed it. We still hear from people that took our seminar. I mean, I was rowing one day, and the entire CrossFit Mayhem team, surrounded us, rowing with us. If you want to be surrounded by the fittest in the world and then just enjoy yourself with food and the Fireball 10K or whatever you guys did over there. It was a great time. So check that out. Lastly, when's your book coming out? When's your book coming out?
I'm hoping this year. So I actually have a phone call with my writer this afternoon. It's been a long time coming, but gosh, when that book comes out, if just one person reads it, it'll be worth it because, I put a lot of time into it. It's my whole life story with lessons and other things. So hopefully this year. But as you know, writing a book, getting it published, it's the logistics of a book are harder than writing it unless you're, an established writer.
Yeah, I'm actually watching a whole book series by Tucker Max, and he's like, if you're writing a book to sell 1 million copies, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Write a book just to, promote your brand and all that stuff. But I'm anxious to see your book. Those of you that listen through all this, you probably learned a little bit about Austin that you didn't know, and I'm assuming that's going to all be in the book. It's going to be great stuff. Well,
yeah. Well, and before you let me go, I do think it's important for the listeners to know that Jason Ackerman, in my opinion, is one of the unsung heroes in the world of CrossFit. Probably one of the smartest businessmen. Just a good dude. Taught me a lot about leadership, ownership. When I got the offer to come to Reebok, he taught me the most important lesson in leadership, I think, to this day. Because I was so nervous because Jason gave me this job and paid me more money than I ever thought possible for coaching, which, wasn't probably a lot of money in the grand scheme, but getting paid more than a free membership was unreal. And, he said, of course would be sad to see you leave and we want you here. We'll be worse off without you, but you need to go out and do this. It would be wrong of me not to support you. Made my decision easier, made me feel better. And it helped me in my whole process as a coach, a leader, and owner. So, Jason interviews a lot of people. He talks a lot about other people, but, understand that Jason's the real fucking deal.
Well, I really appreciate that. And that means a lot to me. I'm not crying, but I'm very close. My eyes welled up. So
good.
Thank you very much for saying that. If anyone is still listening at this point, which I don't know, the 3 people that heard that are going to be really, it'll mean a lot to me and them. But thank you. I do appreciate it. Thank you for letting us join your commute this morning. It's been great insight into, a little deeper than just, talk about fitness with Austin Malleolo.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I'm about to walk in the gym.